Before the Rings of Power, there were the Silmarils. Before Sauron, there was his master, Morgoth. Before Aragorn and Arwen, there was Beren and Luthien. Welcome to Window on the West, where we explore all the ages of Tolkien's Middle-earth, with your hosts, Jonathan Watson, Michael Grumbine, and Dan Coates.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode, I think it's 18 of Window on the West. I'm here with Michael Grumbine once again. I'm sitting on top of him in video. And Dan Coates, once again,
hey everybody,
my left-hand man here. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, that's where we are. Hey, yeah, we're on Rumble now. So you can go to rumble.com/theonering, and you can watch us there too. So that
why am I always on the bottom?
Because you're the foundation that holds us up, Michael.
Help, I'm being oppressed. Come see the violence inherent in the system.
Okay.
I think it's because you're always late.
Do we have to?
Wow,
it's true. Actually,
that's the real. There we go. I regret asking the question.
Oh man,
perfect.
Yes. So you're last. However, the last shall be first. Okay. Anyway, let's not. Okay, I got to stop it. Okay, so we are on Rumble, rumble.com/theonering. You can get us there. It is. We're uploading all of our videos. All 50 or so of them will be there in the next couple weeks, probably. But you can go to us there if you don't want one half of the internet overlords getting your information and watching on YouTube. So you can go there and get it all. And sadly, we have no. All that is gold does not glitter this week. We have not taken the time to do that. However, I do have a sort of like If You Like Tolkien before we get to the final If You Like Tolkien. So, one, if you like Tolkien, I'm glad that you listen to this podcast because we have such a great group of people in our patron chats in our Discord channel. So if you go to theonering.com/patron, and if you like Tolkien, you can go there and you can sign up, and for $4 a month, the first month is free, you can join us in our Discord channel with our message boards and our chat rooms there. And if you also subscribe, you also get the extended podcast, which is like 15, 20, 30 minutes longer, depending on how long-winded Michael is. And sorry. You're holding us up.
This is going to be a really short episode.
So go there, do that. We'd appreciate it. We have a lot of fun in those extended podcasts where perhaps, we loosen the tie a little bit and we kick off the shoes and we put on our Mr. Rogers cardigan to get more comfy.
Or in our case, our smoking jackets.
That's right, yeah. Well, our virtual smoking jackets that nobody sees. So, so check us out there. And also, we'd appreciate any reviews on Apple Podcasts, on Google, on anything you listen to. Helps more people find the podcast, and we love getting more people in on the discussion. So check that out there. And so let's just dive into this geographic test of a chapter.
This scintillating chapter.
This is Dan.
It is time.
So I'm sure this will be your deepest and most profound thing ever. So what is
Dan's big thought?
My big thought this week is that all you need to do is look at this map, because
here, I'll throw it up.
My big thought this week is my brain is fried. Just trying to figure out. So it's not overly long, but it is just Tolkien describing in quite detailed details of
his brain is fried.
Of just the mountains, the rivers, the different realms that are there, the different people that are ruling over those realms. And so really, if you just look at this map, that's all you need to know.
This is
right?
It. This is it. This encompasses the whole chapter.
And that's a wrap.
All right, on to...
This will be our shortest chapter review ever.
Either that or we're going to be here trying to figure things out for the next 4 hours.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, so the whole chapter is essentially like Tolkien laying out, like you said last week, laying out the chessboard, coloring in the pieces, figuring out which squares are square, which ones are octagonal, which ones are circles, right? So everything gets set out here in the entire world of what happens in the rest of the Silmarillion, the Quenta-Silmarillion, for the most part. And so we have this map here you can see it on our video. And then there's also this one here, just maybe the best place to start is because we're talking about maps. And the hardest thing, I think, for everybody that comes into Silmarillion and listens to all this is like, and this is what you said, Dan, not Dad, Dan.
Looks like more than one person's brain is fried.
Is how does this map relate to what we know of Middle-earth in the Third Age, when Frodo and Sam and the Fellowship make their journey to Mount Doom? And so we do have this map. So this map... This is an overlay.
Nice.
So on the left-hand side, and I'm sorry if you're listening to this on audio, I'll link to this here in the show notes. This map. This is an overlay of what maybe we call the map of Beleriand, or the Silmarillion map, with the map of Middle-earth, or the Lord of the Rings map. And you can see the only thing they have in common is right here down the middle, which is the Blue Mountains, right? Isn't that it?
That's right, the Arid Luin, which means
Yeah.
Blue Mountains. Yes.
So all the rest, we'll find out what happens to it and why it's no longer around and what caused this massive destruction, so that the entire lands of the Noldor and the Sindar are gone. And so this is the overlay.
But in the meantime, Tolkien really wants us to care about this land that's about to be. I mean, it's all going away at the end of the first stage. So he tells us lots of details. He starts, interestingly enough, with Morgoth. So the thing that isn't on this map is what he starts with. So Morgoth, he talks about how Morgoth reared the Iron Mountains initially, and raised these mountains actually as a shield, kind of like as a wall, like someone would dig a trench in an embankment. But he's building it against the Valar, so he's raising up mountains because he knows the Valar are going to attack him, and that's what you do, I guess, when the Valar are going to attack you, is you use mountains as a wall. So he raises up the mountains, and then we're gonna focus on the three big ones, Thangorodrim, the ones that the elves actually lay siege to in the Siege of Angband that we mentioned previous chapter, and but very quickly, Tolkien leaves that behind and says, enough about Morgoth. Let's talk about where the elves settled everywhere. So before we dig into any details that people want to talk about, maybe can I give a brief just overview so we can, for a cheat sheet, as it were, for our listeners?
Please do.
Yes,
I think
please.
it might also be for me and for Dan. So,
So if you go... if you look at the map that is either on screen right now or the first one image that Jonathan put up, what you'll basically, the map is...
which is the image in the book, right? The one that
right.
Tolkien...
Yes. Tolkien actually has this image in a book, and I think it's in every book version of the
Even in the Kindle
Silmarillion
version, yeah.
Okay. And that is that as you look, as you read across the map from left to right, as one would read, basically, that we talked earlier about how there are three houses of elves, of high elves, of Noldor that came to Middle-earth. The house of Fëanor, the house of Fingolfin, and the house of Finarfin. And it's mostly not those three that are going to be talked about, but their sons and sometimes their daughters. Of those three houses, from left to right, they basically settle in three clumps. So on the left-hand side of the map is the house of Fingolfin, which is his son Fingon, his son Turgon, and then we don't get a mention in this chapter of Arethel, but we'll get a lot about her in a coming chapter. And then in the middle of the map, and kind of down from the center and then down, is the house of Finarfin, and that would be Finrod, the eldest son, Orodreth above him in the small pass, and then immediately south of Morgoth, Angrod and Aignor, up against the Ard-Galen, the green plains between Thangorodrim. So again, to recap, the house of Fingolfin is on the left with his two sons. The house of Finarfin is in the middle with his four sons, and then the house of Fëanor is about 40% of the map on the right side and on the bottom, and that would be the 7 sons of Fëanor. So Maethros, Maegor, Celagorm, Curufin, Amrod, Amras, and Caranthir, everyone's least favorite.
The one who met the dwarves for the first time and started them off on a really great foot.
Yeah, he's like, you're ugly. I don't like you.
Yeah, and in the middle of all that though is is Thingol and Melian, and they're the Menegroth, and of course, if we look back to this one, is the girdle of Melian, right? The forest of Neldoreth and Doriath and the forest of Ard-Galen, all the whole thing that encircles them. So it's not only going to protect them against Morgoth, we'll find out, but it kind of protects them against the sons of Fëanor too.
Right. Well, it protects them against. In fact, the only people that have ever visited that we're told about at this point are the sons of Finarfin. So remember, Finarfin of the 3 houses, he was the only Noldor king to repent and return after at the time of the Doom of Mandos. He repented and brought a small portion of his people back to Valinor. So he's not even in Middle Earth, but his sons did go. His 4 sons and his daughter Galadriel, and so. They're the only ones that visit this land of Doriath. Galadriel stays there for a long time, and we're going to talk in the next chapter about her friendship with Melian. But the 4 sons of Finarfin are the only ones that Thingol will basically let to visit him. And the reason why is because, if we recall, his cousin, not his cousin, his friend, brother, is it brother Olwe?
His
cousin.
I don't know.
Anyway, Olwe is his kin, and remember, Thingol's name is actually Elwe. We were told in the very beginning, but then he became Thingol when he fell in love with Melian, and then he became the king of the Elves in this area of Middle Earth.
Yes.
So
Olwe and Elwe were brothers.
There we go, brothers. I thought it was, and I started doubting myself. All right.
Well, it's because there's also Ingwe, and that's the problem.
Right, and Ingwe's the Vanyar. He's just never mentioned. He's always been in Valinor. So anyway, point being, we got a total of 13 elven kingdoms, 14 if you count Thingol. So 14 elven kingdoms on this map, corresponding to the various sons of the Noldor, and then Thingol. And then if you count Círdan, I guess that's 15. Because he is mentioned as having his own people, and his name pops up on the map, so we should probably mention him. So there you go, 15 kingdoms. And Turgon gets 2 kingdoms, because one is where he starts in Nevrast, and the other one, as we'll find out, is the hidden city of Gondolin for a later chapter.
All right, it's all clear to me. I mean, looking at this map, it's so easy. This has got to be, no, I know. Well, here's the thing. It's the 6th or 7th time I go through it. And let me give you like the first time I read the Silmarillion, I listened to it. And going through this chapter, I was like, what in the world is going on? This entire chapter is just geography and locations, and I can't follow where anything is, let alone like node up from down and left from right when we're going through this. So this is the kind of thing that literally I think it would be like a school test. You'd have to go through it, start to memorize, try and figure it out so that you can remember where things are. Now, things will become more clear, and it's good to know, particularly like the way that I looked at it is like, okay, Menegroth, it's right in the middle. As long as I can start figuring out where people are around Menegroth, it makes it easier for me, right? Menegroth is right here in the middle of the forest of Neldoreth and Doriath, where they are. And so I can think of like, okay, straight north, we've got Angband, we've got Thangorodrim, we've got Ard-Gogoroth, which is the Mountains of Terror, right? Mountains of Terror, where Ungoliant was at one
Lived
point.
for a time, yes.
Yes. We've got Gondolin right above there too, which you can see, which will become more important in upcoming stories in the next chapter, in fact. And then to the left, we've got Nargothrond and Ordreth and Círdan. To the right, to the east, we have Fëanor's sons, like you said. And so that's the way that I always try to remember it and figure it out. Now, all the names of places and all the different things, like I'm still like, it doesn't matter as much, other than if you really want to know. Like when you start going through Children of Húrin and Beren and Luthien, it's good to start like seeing where things are and know where their travels are. But man, it's hard. it's still hard. I think unless you are literally a professor or somebody who's studying this in a class, I feel like you're not going to get it down just by reading it.
Right. So in that spirit, I like the fact that you used the forest of Doriath and Thingol's realm as the centerpiece, because what I should have done to start there is, for those of you listening to us, if you haven't fallen asleep yet, here's the basics. Forest of Doriath, right in the center of the map. Thingol and Melian live there. Girdle of Melian around. To the left or west of that forest are all of the good Noldor.
There you go.
To the right east that's 6 kingdoms to the west, which is all the good Noldor. That's the sons of houses of Fingolfin and Finarfin. To the right are all the bad Noldor, or the east, which are the 7 sons of Fëanor. Now, I know that's overly simplistic, and that someone can make a case for Maethros being a good guy, but whatever.
We're laying the foundation. This is what we want to do, because you're not going to get it the first time through, the second or third time through, I think. And so once you get through the stories, you can start being like, oh yeah, Amon Ruth. Okay, now I know where that is based on the story that we read later.
Yeah. But as far as a big picture, above Thingol and Melian is Morgoth. To their right are the sons of Fëanor. To their left are all the sons of Fingolfin and Finarfin.
That's actually very helpful. So, like, when I'm looking at this map, I forget who's of Fingolfin, who's of Fëanor, who's of Finarfin. Then I forgot about Finarfin. I'm like, wait, what happened to him? But that's helpful. So on the left, towards the coast, you have the good Noldor. Mm-hmm. All right.
And to the east, to the right, you have the bad Noldor, who are going to show how bad they are in coming chapters.
All right.
Right. Oh, so what about this area down south? What's all this about? Because we don't really hear much about this. Does this just taking up space? I'm trying to remember. Is there anything that happens in here that we have to be concerned about?
Very, very little.
Okay. I'm talking about below the long wall, below. It's in the Tower Imduanath, the forest between rivers, between Syrian and the river Gelion. Anyway, so just
right. Almost nothing happens there. Now, Osirian, we do get some mentions of that. Basically, that's where the Green Elves live, the elves that will later become the Elves of Mirkwood, etc.
Right. That's right. And that is further east here, right?
No, they live in Osirian. They live in.
Okay, right. Yeah, no, I'm thinking
the 7 rivers. So the seven little rivers coming out from.
No. Well, it's further east of. Yeah, it's east of them. It's not east of the mountains, but yes, right there.
Right, it's not east of the Ard-Galen, you're right.
Easy way to remember that. Look, the river Legoland, like
Legoland.
And that's the area that actually becomes Linden, right, in the Second Age.
Yes, over here.
Yes, it does. That is correct.
That's right. So if we bring back up that map of the overlaid map, I'm really sorry if you're listening to this, because it's so much easier when it's visual. Because when you're reading it, like this is the recap for ourselves to figure everything out. But yeah, you're right. You can see right here, Linden is right in there. Right? There's the Great Havens, Bilagos, Nogrod.
Yeah, everything to the north west of that point that you're pointing at right there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'm still.
It was just names of rivers, names of mountains, trying to find them on the map and being like putting the pieces together. That was kind of my full experience of this chapter. I didn't really get much else.
I think it's interesting. One of the things is that you realize is that the Noldor, right? None of the Noldor is the last sentence of this paragraph. None of the Noldor ever went over Ered Linden while their realm lasted. So they never traveled east of these mountains. They were just there the entire time. Even though they're the ones that lived closest to that area, perhaps it was the dwarves that kept them at bay. Who knows? But it was the Silmarils that kept them.
I think it's the Silmarils. Look, remember the elves that lived on that edge right there. Those are Fëanor's sons.
Yeah.
And so they're the ones most bound by their vow to their father and to take back the Silmarils. So they're as long as the Silmarils are in Beleriand, they're not going to leave.
Yeah.
I had a few notes about oddities that I thought were kind of cool. One of them I will save for our listener section because we have a question about it. So it actually comes up. A little footnote comes up in this chapter.
What is the question?
It's about horses.
Yes. So we're going to answer the question. We're going to take a look at the question that artist Richard submitted to us, which was, what about the Mirrors? Like, why does Gandalf have this connection with Shadowfax? Could it be because Tolkien wrote that the Mirrors, the horses of the what's the right term? The grandsires of horses? I don't remember exactly how they're described. But they're, Shadowfax is the greatest of the current.
He's the Lord of the Mirrors.
Lord of Mirrors. Thank you. I don't ever think of a horse as a lord. So
right, but the horses are matched to their kings, and they're spoken of in human terms.
Yes, they're still horses. They're not lords. Just saying.
I think he's actually described. Now I'm going to look it up. I think he's actually described as the Lord of the.
I think he is too. I know. Hey, maybe this is my new Legolas walking on snow moment that I have a hard time dealing with. But we're going to take a look at that, and does Gandalf get a certain connection to those horses because they were they're originally from Orome's steeds, Orome the Maiar, who discovered the elves on the shores of Lake Cuiviénen. So we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so that was one note. We'll get into that in a little bit.
All right.
You said you had another.
Yeah. So the grass. There's a very slight note which I read it over and then reread it because I realized something. So Ard-Galen at the top of the map, which is above the mountains, above Dorthonion and all those heavy mountains, and south of Thangorodrim, where Morgoth's main gate is. That whole land, Ard-Galen, is this. It was filled with the refuse from the pits of Thangorodrim, which obviously there's a very clear parallel between those pits and the refuse there that issues forth from that, and what is described in the Two Towers when Sam and Frodo and Gollum reach the land of Mordor, and the refuse and reeking pits that are cast out from the Black Wall and the areas of the regions around Mordor. So there's a clear parallel there. But then all that refuse, when the sun comes up, that whole land had clearly been seeded with grass by Yavanna, because as soon as the sun comes up, it turns into this green ocean of grass, like that whole wasteland, which I thought was pretty cool.
I thought it was neat because even though Morgoth is rearing up these massive mountains and is throwing out destruction and is throwing out decay and vile filth, like you said, the sun, the light of the trees, essentially, is still a problem to him, and it's still growing among the, what is it? He said, the line is, while Angband was besieged and its gates shut, there were green things even among the pits and broken rocks before the doors of hell. I'm like, you just can't get away, Morgoth, right? I'm sure it angers him, it frustrates him, and life finds a way. Or as someone say, life finds a way.
Another cool note: Morgoth and his followers hate water, so the elves build a tower on the coast, like an Eglarest, right on the southwestern coast in this map picture that Jonathan has up. And they build a tower looking out to the ocean just in case Morgoth invades there. Because remember, Morgoth sent his troops in a flanking maneuver around the northern mountains, the northwestern mountains. So you got to think the elves were like, well, what if he just carries that further and like builds some boats and comes on us from the southwest? So they build this tower that is basically the most useless military building ever invented, because Morgoth won't go on his followers won't go on the water at all ever, and so it's there to look for Morgoth, and he never comes. So
yeah, and I like that idea. I highlight, it's funny, those two areas, and if you believe me or not, like look, I can. Let me see if I can get this up here. But I highlighted those two lines. Were also highlighted in my reading of it because I thought, the water, right? Because what is the one thing that carries still the music of the Ainur? Mm-hmm. Mostly, it's the water. So it makes sense that they would that he would hate the water, because it reminds him of how he was part of the beautiful music that created this world, and now he's still trying to destroy it.
Yep, yeah, that's an excellent point. So let's see. Beren and Luthien get a quick mention at the Green Isle of Ard-Galen. We're not going to learn much about them right now.
Way down here in the bottom southeast of the...
There it is, right down there. Yep.
Yep.
So when you asked if anything happens on this bottom half of the map,
there you
that was the one thing I thought. Well,
But
on
does
that
anything really happen there that much?
No, they just retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah. and then finally, because Tolkien can't ever complete have a chapter, even when he's dead and he's not making the chapter, every single chapter still has to have somebody singing. In this case, it's the Green Elves, and the land is a land of song. It's called the Land of Song by the Noldor because the elves won't stop singing. So there you go.
This is let's see. I had that line here too. They were clad in green in spring and summer, and the sound of their singing could be heard even across the waters of Beleriand, which is the major north-south river here to the west of the Blue Mountains. Wherefore the Noldor named that country Lindon, the land of music, and the mountains beyond they named Ard-Lindon, like you mentioned, Dan, Lindon there, for they first saw them from Osiriand. So yeah.
They got some pipes on them if you can hear them all the way across from a distance like that.
They can see far and they can sing far.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, also Finrod builds the first Minas Tirith.
Oh, that's right. Where's that
Tol
again?
It's Tol Sirion. It's an island on the Sirion River.
Right. See, this is where I'm lost again. Tol Sirion is...
It's before the falls of Sirion.
I know. I'm looking for it here. There's Amenoble.
I don't know if it's on this map.
Yeah, it might not be on this map. Is it on the other map? Is it on the other map, people? It doesn't really matter. There's the Falls of Sirion. I guess it might not be on the map.
Yeah, but the first Minas Tirith, so nothing is new under the sun.
Yeah, right.
Vanity, all is vanity, and chasing after the wind.
So what we know from reading other parts of Tolkien is that this Minas Tirith was better than what came after. Right? This is the better Minas Tirith.
It's always the better version.
Yeah.
Even the Denethor from Minas Tirith in our book, the first Denethor was the leader of the elves, of the Green Elves, that got killed by the orcs in their first excursion. Yeah. And he was the good Denethor as opposed to the sucky Denethor in the rings in the Lord of the Rings. So
the one who likes his tomatoes when they pop out of his mouth.
Right. Well, that's Peter Jackson's Denethor. To me, that's a third Denethor, different from the second one.
Yes, true. Well, yeah, they go down on my scale in each instance. All right, last call for any final things. You gotta have this all under control before you read on. So we'll post the test next week. Well, no,
that's right.
It would make sense.
That's what I should do. I should come up with instead of all that is gold does not glitter. I should do a geography test for you guys to ask you questions about Beleriand.
Oh man, no, it's actually funny. I looked up a quiz of Beleriand, and there are quizzes that you can take online that people have put together in order to find things. A lot of them have to do with, where was Turin and Hurin and Huor, like questions that we haven't gotten to yet, so it didn't really make sense to take a look at them right now. But yeah, you can see this here would be difficult. I thought my kids were doing great when they got the northeastern states in their tests at school. But this is taking it to a whole nother level.
And you know what's interesting to me? It is really true. I mean, this is yet another arrow in Tolkien's quiver to his credit, because while we're joking about how difficult it is, and it is, because not only, this is difficult. Yeah, it's like Inception, third level, 3 levels. It's like 3 levels down. It's not only is it geography. First, you have geography of the real world, which is hard enough, like you said, the United States and such. Then 1 level down, you have geography of a fake place like Middle Earth. So you have like the maps of Middle Earth, and then this is the 3rd level down. This is geography of a fake place that doesn't even exist anymore in the fake world because it's under the ocean. So this is but yet people have spent huge amounts of time, even before the internet existed, obsessing over the details and getting it right, which to me is just a testament to the power of Tolkien's sub-creation, where he can create a world that's so engaging that some people, not many, but even you'll get some people who will be that interested. There's a whole book that we've been referencing, the Atlas of Middle Earth, which is put together by a gal and some friends of hers, and that took it very seriously. So
yeah, I think to close this off, because it's a difficult chapter, it's a difficult map. There's a lot to worry about, and we're not the only ones. And so on This is on the 18th. I tweeted this here 4 days ago. This is Tolkien directly in a letter that he wrote. He wrote this. This map, or the map, is hell. I have not been as careful as I should in keeping track of distances. I think a large-scale map simply reveals all the chinks in the armor, besides being obliged to differ somewhat from the printed small-scale version, which was semi-pictorial. So he slaved over the maps, but he hated them too, right? In a way, it's like, man, they're so complex. What's going on? This was the Lord of the Rings map, and he, you know, and the Silmarillion map to him was really just for himself at the time. Still, he wasn't. There was no.
Yeah, he never published.
He never published it while he was alive. So yeah, so he said. So perhaps we can close on that note. The map is hell.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We've gotten through. I don't know, like the book of Numbers of the Lord of the Rings. I think that was the way you put it, Michael.
Yep.
It feels,
Book of Numbers, Tolkien style.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels a little bit like just chewing saltines, a big mouthful of them without any water. Kind of tough to swallow sometimes. So before though we close. And if you're listening to this when it goes live, this is the commencement of the Christmas season. We thought the most appropriate and the best
If You Like Tolkien.
is J.R. Tolkien's Letters from Father Christmas. And I hate to admit, I haven't actually read this to my kids yet. In fact, I kind of forgot about it until a couple of years ago again, because a lot of kids, right? It drives things out of your head. So, but however, going back to this here is letters that he wrote to his children starting in 1923. He did it for 20 years for his first child, Michael, I think was his first child, down to his youngest daughter, Priscilla, who just passed away a year ago or so. And he would write them letters as if he was Father Christmas. And these letters are it's amazing because, I'm sure when he was thinking about doing, he's like, okay, well, what's it gonna take to make my kids believe this Santa? Well, it's cold up there, so when he writes, his hand has got to be shivering all the time. And so even the letters, the envelopes, everything comes. I'll show you here. Everything comes with kind of that shivering hand right there. If you can see this in the video, and all the lines are very like finely shivering out. So anyway, that's where he starts. But then he starts relatively simple about gifts and how cold it is. But Tolkien being Tolkien, he couldn't help but create a world around it. And so we find out eventually there's a polar bear who causes mischief. There are penguins, and then the polar bear dances with the penguins. And, it goes through the war years and how things happen and how the North Pole ended up falling on Santa's house. And he draws pictures of all that too.
There's an invasion from goblins.
That's right. So it's really charming. It's really a lot of fun, and it's not. They have the original letters in here, as well as there's some text, so they write it down, so that when you do get this incredibly detailed notes from him right there, that letter, you also get on the other side. You get the typewritten text, so that you can just read it without trying to decipher exactly what Tolkien wrote. Because what a beautiful writing style he had. However, that was his calling card. Otherwise.
Yeah, he is. It's fantastic.
So I really enjoy this. This is something that I think everybody who's a Tolkien fan, if you like Tolkien, you will definitely like this, because it's just so charming and it's so fun to read through. It's like $20 this was $20 on Amazon. I don't know how much it is now. I'll put a link down below, and we can enjoy not just the things that he wanted to have published, but the secret things in his household that he never released until his son got a hold of it.
Well, this one that you bring up, Jonathan, I love it. It's very near and dear to my heart. A few years back, I started a tradition of reading those letters to my kids at Christmas time, leading up to Christmas. And then my daughter, who our listeners or viewers on YouTube may have seen some of her artwork as some of our splash screens from our early episodes. One of my daughters, who's the artist, had this great idea. She was drawing a picture one day inspired by those letters. And so what I started doing for a number of years, basically every year since 2017, is write a letter in the hand of Father Christmas for my kids to find as a continuation of the Father
great.
Christmas stories, so that when they would come up, the kids would find something along these lines.
Oh my goodness! You burned the edges and everything.
In and there's, for those of you that have the book, you'll notice there's two writing styles.
Yeah.
One of them is the red one is, and shaky hand is from Father Christmas, and the green
Hold that up again for us. Yeah.
Oh man.
the big and the black one is from Polar Bear, who becomes a secondary character who starts to and then my daughter would always do a piece of artwork at the end, so that which explained what happened in the story.
Oh wow.
And this is another one from another year. I couldn't find the one from last year, which was really awesome, but on short notice. But she would do these pictures in the style of Tolkien's, something like of Tolkien's pictures, and for the kids to enjoy go along with my letter.
You have, for those of you who don't know, Michael has 9 children, and this is your daughter's. How old? Who drew this?
So she's in college right now. When she drew that, she was 14 years old.
Oh,
13
wow.
years,
And then
13
it was
years
given to your 2 youngest or so, or like, did you?
Yes. So all the younger kids under her found it. She is child number 4 of 9. So yeah.
Man, that is why you're down below us. You're the foundation, Michael, because you're setting the standard.
That's also why I'm always late. Sorry.
There you go.
You're too busy making those letters with the shaky letters.
Yeah. All right. Well. So that is a great Christmas gift. I'll have a link below, or for yourself, right? Or for your children, right? Tell
right.
your wife or husband or your significant other that you're getting it for the benefit of your future memories, so that you can enjoy these together. And it looks really good on the shelf, and it's fun to read.
And they will be good memories.
And they will be good. So we're going to move into our subscriber extended patron only section, and we're going to go over a few more questions. If you want to hear those questions, go to theonering.com/patron, become a member. It's $4 a month, free for the first month. And you can join us, and you can ask questions. You can get the extended podcast just with the username and password, and use it on your own Apple Podcasts or Overcast or whatever podcast app you use. And we even post a video of it, so you can see it all on video with a link in our Discord chat. So join us there at theonering.com/patron, and we'll see you there. But we're going to address the questions we talked about the Miras, the horses, the horse lords. And then we're going to also ask the most important question about what kind of Thanksgiving food we like. And then Dan also brought up something earlier, which was a wider question about Tolkien. So why was he so detailed? Was this map created so that for him, like he had to increase the immersion level of Middle Earth and of the stories he's telling, or could he just not help himself? So we're going to discuss that in our extended podcast. So thanks for joining us. Go to theonering.com/patron. Man, I'm talking way too fast. Theonering.com/patron. Did I say the one wing?
Marriage
Marriage
is what brings us together today.
Theonering.com/patron. So go there, and
freeloaders.
we'll see you.
All right, freeloaders. See you later.